Hey, Melissa Savage here. Welcome to Western North Carolina Real Estate. If you are thinking about purchasing a short-term rental or vacation rental here in Western North Carolina, and more specifically Asheville, North Carolina, this is the channel and the video for you. Today we're talking about what it's like to buy a short-term rental in Asheville, North Carolina, but each week I'll be releasing a new video so that you can discover different markets within Western North Carolina and decide which market is the best to fit your goals. All right, let's talk about buying a short-term rental in Asheville, North Carolina. We're going to dive into the who, what, when, where, why. I have data pulled from multiple different sources so that I can give you the big picture on what it's like to invest here in Asheville. So, the number one question I get asked and that I see asked in different forums and Facebook groups is, where the heck do I invest? What's the best market to invest in? Where in Western North Carolina should I invest in? My answer is always, well, it depends. I am a resort and second home property specialist. I service all of Western North Carolina, and I mostly focus on helping people buy short-term and vacation rentals. With that said, I will never ever be the realtor that says, oh yeah, Asheville is a great place for everyone to invest, because that might not be the truth, right? It depends on your individual goals, your risk tolerance, your financial situation. Is this a lifestyle investment, or are you just looking for a property that is going to cash flow? Do you want the strongest return on investment possible? These things matter. And that is always the first thing I go over with my clients. Also, does it make sense? If you're self-managing, you might not want to invest in a place that you live really far away from. A lot of people do that. It's totally possible, but are you comfortable with that? So, depending on where you live, Asheville may or may not be a good fit for you. Also, depending on if you're self-managing or if you're going to use a property manager. So I see a lot of people going into Facebook groups, not only asking where's the best place to invest, but I see a lot of people asking who's doing well in such and such market. And the thing about asking that is you're going to have people all over the spectrum, but we don't know their numbers. When somebody says, oh yeah, I'm crushing it in Asheville, or oh, I'm doing terribly, it's the Airbnb bust. That's anecdotal. We don't know, number one, how they're managing their unit. We don't know their numbers. And there are so many factors that we just can't quantify. And we also don't know necessarily what good or bad means to them, right? So the best thing that you can do is collect the data, go over the data, and it's my job to get that data to my clients, as well as not only property specific data, but data on the entire area, Western North Carolina, Asheville, wherever they're looking. It's my job to get that to them so that they can make the best decision based on their goals. So if you're thinking about buying a short-term rental or vacation rental here in Asheville, North Carolina, this is definitely for you. All right, again, we are going to talk about the who, what, when, where, why. We have stats, drivers, regulations, seasonality, the visitor profile, and last but not least, competition, or as some people like to call it, the enemy method. Here's a few fun facts about Asheville, North Carolina. We are number one, best weekend getaways in the South, best fall vacations, best spring vacations, number one foodie destination in the US. That was recently just published by, I think it was Travel and Leisure. Kind of surprising, but also kind of not. We have a lot of great food here. Let's see. Best cheap romantic getaways. Hey, sometimes you got to be bougie on a budget. Best East Coast vacation spots. We're also number 9 in trout fishing for all you outdoor enthusiasts, which I am definitely an outdoor enthusiast. So there's a little fun fact for you. And we also used to be voted Beer City USA. I don't think we hold that title anymore, but we used to. We have around 2,700 short-term rentals here in Asheville. To put that into perspective, Gatlinburg has over 5,000 short-term rentals and Panama City has over 13,000. As you can see here on the map. So this is not limited to Asheville City. This is all of Asheville. The average monthly revenue in Asheville is at $3,800. Asheville is a regional market, and other regional market examples would be Gatlinburg, Panama City, Big Bear Lake, and Branson. Regional markets have historically outperformed metro and national vacation markets. There's a few reasons for that. These markets are heavily, heavily dependent on tourism, and they're also statistically safer even with economical fluctuations. So location is typically your main driver for demand, and within the locations, you want to have multiple drivers for why people are going there. That's what makes the location the place to be, right? So location is the main driver, and you have to think about what is driving people into that location, which we will definitely dive into. So we have approximately 12.7 million visitors to the area annually. And here's another fun fact. The Grand Canyon gets about 10 million a year. So that puts it into perspective. We have a lot of people that travel here. I think daily in Asheville, we have over 30,000 a day. 73% of these travelers are overnight visitors, and we have wonderful appreciation. Asheville Metro home values have gone up 23% over the past year and 110% over the past decade. So if you're purchasing an investment, you can feel safe that it will at least appreciate, right? Here I've pulled some data from AirDNA and a few other sources. AirDNA is based on historical data. So here we have the most recent month's occupancy rates in comparison to the occupancy rates for the previous year. If you notice right here, January is our slowest month of the year. Although we do have fantastic, almost year-round seasonality, we have visitors in every single month. January is statistically our slowest month, and February is our second slowest month. And then when you get into March and people start hitting spring break, everything starts blooming, the weather's nice, a lot more people start to visit in the spring, and then it just rolls from there. So you can see here, June, July, and August are pretty popular, with July being the highest. And October, actually, for this past October in 2022, it looks like we had just a little bit higher occupancy than in July. So, and then the year before that, it looks like July had significantly higher occupancy than October. So those are our popular seasons. Summer and leaf season, we have the most visitors. And it looks like from this chart that most of the time occupancy is hovering around 60%, give or take. December, November, September, August, June, May, April, and March. Actually, they're all near 60%. Some are a little bit over, some are a little bit under. So that's pretty on par with the data I've collected. I do notice that this year the occupancy has been a little bit lower than the previous years. And we all know things were crazy after COVID. So I think the market's self-correcting, and I'm interested to see what happens from here. But these are pretty good numbers. Here's just another visual on that data from AirDNA and other sources. We have our average daily rate hovering around 200, occupancy rate sitting around 67%, with the highest being in October and the lowest being in January, as I said, and the revenue hovering around $3,000 a month, with the highest being in October. That is average monthly. Here's a breakdown of bedrooms in short-term rental listings. 1 bedrooms being the most popular, followed by 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms, 4 bedrooms, and studios are the least popular. Now, this is something I like to think about and analyze the visitor profile, which we will dive into. I don't like the generalization that more bedrooms equals more money. That's not always true. However, I think it's important to read in between the lines, right? You could have a 4-bedroom or more. You could be marketing to larger groups. You could be charging higher average daily rates. Maybe you're not being booked as often, but depending on your numbers, right? It all depends on the numbers. You could be making more because you're charging such a premium for a bigger unit, especially if that's a luxury unit. You can charge more. So there definitely seems like there's room for bigger units, maybe even studios. So if you are investing and you don't have a super high budget, maybe you are not purchasing a luxury cabin with 16 bedrooms. Due to our visitor profile, there's definitely a market for studios in 1-bedrooms. However, there's more competition in this area, especially with the 1-bedrooms, because all of those 1-bedrooms and those studios are catering to the average visitor profile, which is like 2.7 people. If I remember correctly off the top of my head. We'll get to that slide in a little bit. So lots of things to think about, lots of things to analyze. There is no right or wrong answer. It just depends, okay? And that's the importance of running the numbers and knowing who visits and why they visit and what they're doing. And again, reading in between all the lines. So this is the breakdown of bedrooms. This is recent data that I have pulled off the MLS for the city of Asheville. So this is not for all of Asheville. This is just for the city of Asheville. I wanted to give you guys a good idea of what's happening in the real estate market in general. We have 1.5 months supply of inventory. So if no new listings came on the market, we would run out of houses to sell in 1.5 months. This is a strong seller's market. In comparison to March of 2022, we are at 0.9 supply of inventory, which is just mind-blowing. So it's competitive. We are seeing multiple offers. We're seeing lesser days on the market right now, as of May, right? So this information was pulled from March because they didn't have April's yet when I pulled this. So the average sales price in the city of Asheville is $629,446. Something to keep in mind. Again, everything depends on your goals. Do the numbers make sense? Is this in your budget, right? The median sales price is sitting at $482,500. We are, as of last year in March, people were getting 101.9% of their original list price. So people were paying over list price, and we're sitting just under that now at 96.6%. Average days on market until sale is 45. And here's some year-to-date information right here, okay? So very interesting. In March, we had 246 homes for sale in Asheville. Really not a lot. 119 closed sales, 176 pending, and 199 new listings in the month of March for Asheville. Here's the historical median sales price on a rolling 12-month calculation. The gray line is the entire Canopy MLS area, and that covers a huge portion of Western North Carolina as well as Charlotte. And then the blue line is the city of Asheville. So you can see that the historical median sales price for Asheville has always been a little bit higher. So visitor profile is something that I feel like people don't think about when they're researching a market. And it's important to know who's visiting Asheville, why they're visiting, when they're visiting, how long they're staying, because these are the consumers. These are the people that are renting your units, and this is how you're making money. So if you don't know this information, it can be harder to determine what is the best type of property to invest in because we don't even know who's staying here and what they're doing, right? So it's harder to know the areas and the types of properties. As I said when I talked about the number of bedrooms, The average overnight visitor party in Asheville is only 2.6 people. I think that's over 50% of the parties that visit. So you could assume that it might be better to have a smaller unit with 1 to 2 bedrooms. With that said, most short-term rental owners have 1 or 2 bedrooms, so there's more competition. Now, there is also a market for larger units with more bedrooms, and you could make more money that way because there's less competition. However, it might take you longer to see a return on investment if it's a more expensive property. So we're weighing the options here, right? With the information and the data that we have. And that's what this is all about. So average overnight visitor party, 2.6 people. The average age is 47, although we are getting a lot of younger people that are visiting Asheville because it's like the hip place to be, right? The average length of overnight stay is 3.7 days, and 90% of people visiting are leisure-based. These things are important to know. We need to know what they're doing. That helps us with our listings. That helps us with, where to buy a property and all the things. So this chart here on the left is for the entire mountain region. So this is for Western North Carolina. So there might be a little discrepancies in the stats that I'm giving you, but it'll all fit together, I promise. The top states of origin for overnight visitors are North Carolina, Virginia, South Carolina, Florida, Georgia, Pennsylvania, New York, Tennessee, Ohio, and Texas. A lot of these are neighboring states, and 30% of overnight visitors to the mountains are from North Carolina. We are a regional vacation market. Due to our location, many people are visiting by car. So over 80% of people are visiting by car, which also helps when airline tickets go up, when airlines shut down for pandemics. People can still day trip or take a weekend trip here in Asheville or Western North Carolina. And a lot of times people will visit one town in Western North Carolina and then day trip to others. So there's a lot of activity here. Tourists visiting Asheville and Western North Carolina in general are way more active than your average visitor due to just the nature of the area, right? 40% of tourists take historic tours, 38% are interested in culinary destinations, and 36% say they take general sightseeing tours in Asheville. And when you ask visitors in Asheville about their activities, the city actually ranks off the charts when it comes to brewery, winery, and distillery tours. And it never fails. Anytime I'm downtown hanging out and I'm talking to people that are visiting, they are here to drink beer. Almost every single time I ask somebody, they have at least visited one brewery or winery, right? So as you can see over here on the side on this chart, a lot of people are doing outdoor active activities. We have national and state parks. 22% are hiking and backpacking. 26% are rural sightseeing. 28% visiting historic sites. Let's see here. 4% are rock climbing. 11% gardening or visiting gardens. Maybe they're not gardening, but they're checking out gardens. 14.7% are wildlife viewing. So people are very active in this area. 5.2% fishing. Craft breweries, 12.2%. That's kind of the discrepancy because this, again, is for the overall Western North Carolina. But when people come to Asheville, trust me, they're visiting the breweries, okay? The cool thing about Asheville is we have pretty much year-round seasonality, and that's due to the weather and the drivers. We have people visiting every single month, every single season. Every season in itself is beautiful. Spring, summer, fall, winter, they all have different things to offer people at each time of year. So with the mild weather and the multiple opportunities to enjoy each of those seasons, we've just become a year-round tourist destination. Our warmest month is actually July, and our average high is around 85 degrees, with our coldest month being in January, and the average low in January is around 28 degrees. Now, I have seen single-digit cold weather. I've seen it in the negatives. That kind of stuff does happen, but that's not the norm. So we have pretty mild weather. We do get some storms, we do get some flooding, we do get snow. But the average snowfall in Asheville is actually only 12 inches a year. If you get up into high country, certain other areas a little more north, you'll probably see a little bit more snow. If you live on the mountains, you're going to see a little bit more snow. But in Asheville, our average is 12 inches a year. And there are two types of people. There are the people that think it snows a ton in Nashville and they can just plan a trip and there's going to be tons of snow. And I hate to break it to them. And then you have the other people that are like, it's actually a temperate rainforest. It is, right? It's humid. It can get pretty hot here. We're just not a big destination to see a lot of snow. So might want to go a little further north. Hate it for my family in Florida. Every time they plan a trip to try to see snow, they never see it, right? So when it comes to drivers, we have so many drivers, and that is one of the top reasons that's what makes the location the place to be, right? There are multiple drivers, and generally speaking, you want to invest in a market with multiple drivers. And the cool thing about Asheville, and I've probably already said this, people are staying in Asheville and day tripping to other areas, or people are staying in other areas and day tripping to Asheville. So these economies are benefiting from having so many things to do spread out across Western North Carolina. So, when we are talking about people visiting Asheville, they might be visiting the ski resorts in other counties, but they're staying in Asheville because they're close by. They enjoy the drive there. They want to do all the things, right? So let's talk about the drivers specifically in Asheville. One of the number one top drivers in Asheville is the Biltmore Estate. You've probably heard of it. It's America's largest privately owned home, made by the Vanderbilts back in some year, a long time ago. It's a really cool place. You can visit the home and do a tour. You can visit the grounds. They have miles and miles and miles of hiking trails. You can bike, you can ride horses, you can go to Antler Hill Village and shop, dine, do the wine tasting. You can visit Biltmore Village. That's open to the public. It's shopping and restaurants in the Biltmore area near the entrance to the Biltmore Estate. I wish I had the stats on how many people visit the Biltmore Estate each year, but it's a lot. One of our other famous drivers is the Blue Ridge Parkway. The Blue Ridge Parkway actually runs from Shenandoah National Park in Virginia all the way to Cherokee, Great Smoky Mountain National Park in Western North Carolina. The Blue Ridge Parkway is pretty cool because you can hop on it and drive forever. You can stop at all the overlooks and see amazing views, so you don't have to hike up a mountain to enjoy the leaves when they change, to enjoy the scenery. You can just pull off on the side of the road and check it out. So it's a pretty popular destination. There are waterfalls, hiking trails, pretty cool centers. I really don't actually know what to call them. There are different areas to visit. There's like the hatchery. There's all kinds of things, right? So then we have the River Arts District. And I always laugh when I think about this because when I first came to Asheville, I was like 6 years old. So this was a really, 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 really long time ago. And the River Arts District was this grimy, grungy, rundown industrial part of Asheville with like all of these abandoned buildings and really ugly graffiti. I mean, there's still a lot of graffiti, but it's not ugly. They're actually commissioning artists to graffiti Asheville. It's just part of keeping Asheville weird, right? So River Arts District had a totally different vibe. It's been gentrified. It is now like the cool place to be, right? River Arts District is not really a walkable area. There is one street that is walkable with some art galleries and coffee shops and things like that. We have a trolley that runs once a month at this point from downtown Asheville to the River Arts District because River Arts is kind of to the side of downtown Asheville, so it's not really central. And most people drive into it, park, and walk on that that one little area. So it's an interesting little place. It also has a nice greenway in that area where a lot of people ride their bikes, run, walk their dogs, which is pretty new. So it's very, very nice. I enjoy walking it. And you can walk all along the river and in through the River Arts District. So we're happy about that. Here are more drivers to the Asheville area. So some of these are in places surrounding Asheville, but most of them are going to be in Asheville. So we have over 100 art galleries. Biltmore hosts the Van Gogh Alive and several other art shows, like interactive art shows. We have Asheville Art in the Park, the Folk Art Center. That's on the Blue Ridge Parkway. So I guess center was the right word. We have the Asheville Art Museum, the Orange Peel Salvage Station, and Christmas Jam every year. For food, y'all, I could not even begin to create a list of all the amazing places. We just have so many, but I tried to include some of my favorites and like most well-known and like most famous restaurants. So 12 Bones, which is known for President Obama visiting when he was president. I think he went there a few times, but really good barbecue. I love their turkey sandwich. If you go there, try it. 12 Bones, Chai Pani. Chai Pani is one of the best restaurants in the United States. They are very well known, very famous. We have Katie Button Restaurants. She's a famous chef. Kurite, hope I'm saying that right. Tupelo Honey is another, it's like Southern food. A lot of people love to visit there. We have one downtown and in South Asheville. So a lot of these places have multiple restaurants in different areas. Another famous one that I didn't put on here was 9 Mile. That's a top favorite of mine. We have the Admiral in West Asheville and Buxton Hall in the South Slope. It's really good as well. For festivals, we have tons all year round, from really, really large festivals to smaller festivals. Blue Ridge Pride, in September. Highlands. We have Leaf Festival, which actually just happened this past weekend. We usually have 2 a year, and that's in Black Mountain. So really cool arts and performing arts festival. Goombay, Grind Fest, Cider Fest. I went to that a couple years ago. It was pretty cool if you like cider. And Vegan Fest. We love our vegan food here. A lot of people really appreciate that. And we're Beer City, USA. We used to be, but in my heart, we will always be Beer City. We have more breweries per capita than any other city in the United States. We have over 50 breweries in Asheville or Buncombe County. Wicked Weed Funkatorium is a really popular one. Every time I ask somebody which brewery they're going to, chances are it's Wicked Weed. The first legal post-prohibition brewery in Asheville is Highlands. Love them. And we are the best city for beer drinkers. Fun fact. I guess most visitors in Asheville are more active for a reason. We have tons of outdoor activities. So 45 minutes west, we have Cataloochee Ski Resort, and 45 minutes north, we have Wolf Ridge Ski Resort. There are 3 other ski areas in high country, but they're a little bit further away from Asheville. So I just included Cataloochee and Wolf Ridge. Yes, it's East Coast skiing, but it's not the worst. We have ziplining centers. You can go on kayaking, paddleboarding, rafting, tubing tours in several different areas with different companies. They'll shuttle you, they'll do different tours, things like that. We're home to the Pisgah National Forest. We have DuPont State Forest, and we also have the experimental forest, Spent Creek. So Pisgah National Forest was actually the birthplace of modern forestry as we know it today. About 80,000 acres of that was originally owned by the Biltmore estate in the 1800s. When George Vanderbilt died, his wife Gloria sold it to the federal government for $5 an acre. So that's pretty cool. We're close to the Great Smoky Mountain National Park. A lot of people think that's in Tennessee, but half of it's in the western part of North Carolina. So west of Asheville, heading towards Cherokee. It's not far from here. We have the AT, the Appalachian Trail, and we also have the Mountains to Sea Trail, which spans from western to eastern North Carolina. We also have a lot of biking, especially in Bent Creek and DuPont. We are a top trout fishing destination, as I previously said, for all you outdoor enthusiasts out there. So I wanted to include some miscellaneous things. We have stuff happening just all the time. Again, that's why people visit Asheville so much. There's just endless amounts of things to do. We have the drum circle on weekends in downtown Asheville. It's a really cool thing to participate in or just check out while you're down there in downtown. Grove Arcade and S&W Market, old famous buildings that have things to eat, places to shop. You have some really cool murals around town. If you see a nun on a unicycle, that's the Zoom comedy tour. They are famous and they are hilarious. We are also known as North Carolina's wine country. I actually didn't know this until recently, so that is super cool. Can't wait to tell everybody. We have the Nature Center, which is like a little zoo. Pretty cool place to visit. Biltmore Village for shopping and eating. The Arboretum, beautiful. They also do the winter lights there every year, which is really cool. They've done some Lego things. I don't even know what to call it, like Lego sculptures. My son loved that. We have tons of local markets. So we have like the North Asheville Market, West Asheville Markets. We got all kinds of different markets, one in Rad. And we also have the Farmers Market, which is open year round. Asheville is very, 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 very dog friendly. I'd say like you can take your dog into 98% of places. Some restaurants even have their own doggy menus. So we are super dog friendly here in Asheville. And I think just over 50% of short-term rentals allow dogs. So keep that in mind. We're also home to the gingerbread competition, which is televised nationally. It's really cool. And they're open to the public certain days and times. You can walk through the Grove Park Inn, which is a historic hotel, and you can see all the gingerbread houses. It's a really fun thing to do in the winter. And I already said winter lights at the Arboretum. And also, last but not least, Biltmore Blossoms, which Biltmore does in the spring. So lots of really cool things to do. Getting into the nitty gritty, we're going to talk about regulations in Asheville. Asheville does have restrictions on short-term rentals. So we're going to dive into all that. And if you take anything away from this presentation, let this be like one of the most important things you do take away, right? Now, the difference between a typical residential real estate agent and somebody who specializes in short-term rentals is staying up to date on the rules and regulations and even things that might be opposed in the future. Now, I can't predict the future, but there are indications of areas that might not be as STR friendly and that might impose restrictions in the future. So Asheville is not going to impose any more restrictions. The city of Asheville has a homestay restriction. So Asheville does not allow rentals under 30 days within city limits. But you can be in Asheville zip codes outside of city limits in which these restrictions do not apply and you don't have to worry about them, okay? But if you are in city limits, you have to qualify and apply for a homestay, which I will talk about on the next slide. A permit is required for a homestay, and the homestay needs to be reviewed annually and inspected annually for compliance. If you had a short-term rental prior to a certain year, you were grandfathered in. Okay, when it comes to the homestay rules, I'm going to just hit the highlights. I'm not going to read this word for word, but I will link it in the description below so that if you want to read this, which you should, you can do that, right? There are a few other clauses about signage and lights and things like that. So the basics are you have to be 18, you have to be a full-time resident of the dwelling unit, and you have to be present while you're renting it out, while you have guests there. You can't be like living in Florida for 6 months while renting your home here in Asheville. A person can only have one primary full-time residence, and the homestay must be operated from that primary full-time residence, okay? Only one homestay per lot. You have to have liability insurance, and you got to pay all your applicable fees and taxes, right? Pretty straightforward. I also have a tool. If you are looking at properties in Asheville, which I can do this for you, I do it for my clients all the time, but sometimes it's easier. I have a tool that you can pop in any address and it will tell you whether it's in city limits or not. So I will also link that in the description so that you can utilize it. Now, comparable properties. I have a tool that extracts data from Airbnb so that I can check out what the competition's doing, right? And this helps us to, again, see the bigger picture of what's going on. Why are the top Airbnb listings sitting at the top? What are they doing right? What are the listings that aren't making any money doing wrong? Why aren't they making any money? What's up with those listings? So with this information, you can extract the data, you can view each listing and see what's really going on. Reading in between the lines, you can start to see some patterns. A lot of these say the word luxury. Maybe that's why they're doing so well. Maybe they have really nice photos. Maybe they have a certain number of bedrooms. So you can start to notice those trends. So we are going to check out a few of those that I have pulled from this program. So we're just going to go over some comps really quick. This is something I do for my clients on a market-to-market basis. And I really like to check out what amenities other listings have, what their occupancy's like, things like that. You can do this on your own on Airbnb. It just takes a little longer to go through each and every one of them as where I can pull them up on. Okay, we're going to go over some comps in Asheville really quick. This is something I do for my clients on a market-to-market basis. I will pull the entire list and then I will check out the top grossing Airbnbs and see what amenities they have, what their units look like, how much they're charging, how high their occupancy rate is, and things like that. You can do this on your own through Airbnb manually. It just takes a little while longer. So I can extract the listing data here. This one is grossing almost $14,000 a month. And I can see why. They have some pretty cool murals, a movie theater, game room. So lots of amenities. It's really nice. They have great pictures. Yeah, this one's nice. I got a sauna, fire pits, hot tub, all the things. Here's another one, luxury contemporary residence. They're making about 10 grand a month based on the next 90 days. This is very contemporary and modern, really nice and clean. Smack in the middle of downtown. City and mountain views. 2 bedrooms. This is a condo downtown. Fairly modern. Fire pit. So again, I just use this tool to see what the competition's doing. A little bit of the enemy method. A lot of these are pretty luxurious. There's a home, 6 bedrooms, 11,000. Really nice views. So these larger houses look like they have a slightly lower occupancy, but they're making up for that in what they charge. So higher occupancy is not always the goal. You could have less guests and be making more money if you can charge a higher premium, right? So lots of things to take into consideration. Superhost status. Okay, cool. Modern roundhouse. So this is a little more, well, it's modern, but it's also kind of gives you that Western North Carolina feel. Fire pit. Really nice views. Rock fireplace.
And I'm going through these pretty quickly just to give you guys an idea of, what we're looking at, why we're looking at it. 8,000 a month. This one is being marketed as a wedding venue. It's huge. This is probably in River Arts. Oh, it is. Okay. 713 a night. Looks like they are going to make almost 14,000 in revenue a month based on their next 90 days. Views, amenities. So you start to notice the pattern. Everything has views and amenities, and those are the ones that are charging top dollar. That's not always necessary, obviously, but it just goes to show you have to have the right property and you have to do it well. So just something to keep in mind. And I'm happy to run this program on any market that you're interested in. So if you have any questions about any specific market and want to look into it, again, you could do it on your own or I could pull up a report for you. So just shoot me an email or a text message. I'd be happy to help.
If you guys are interested, here are the sources that I use to pull data. Again, I think it's important to pull data from multiple different sources, read in between the lines, and really get a big picture on what's going on in the area. And I have seen some of these websites totally overestimate. I've seen some of them underestimate. I've seen them do both. And so I feel like the truth is somewhere in the middle. And, the possibilities are endless. You just got to do what makes the most sense. Okay. If you guys have any questions, here's my contact information, my phone number, and my email, melissa@thesavagerealtor.net. I'm happy to help answer any questions. And if you're interested in purchasing a short term rental in Western North Carolina, let's get together and talk about your goals. I do service all of these cities here you see on the map and pretty much everywhere in between. So don't hesitate to reach out. I will also be publishing weekly videos breaking down each market and giving you guys all the information. So I hope to talk to you soon. Thanks for watching.